Okay. Hi, my name is Erica, and this is this week's training. It'll be on child growth and development. This training will be in two parts. So this will just be the first part. We'll go over the second part next week. Um, so there are five main areas of development when talking about literally anyone, but we're going to kind of specify in children. And this doesn't just end in childhood. Obviously, we all grow and continue to develop throughout our life. But the five main ones are physical, social, emotional, cognitive, and language. So some physical development that goes on includes physical changes in our bodies, teeth coming in for babies, losing the baby fat, puberty, different things like that. Obviously, we grow taller, we grow larger throughout our life. Generally occurs in a predictable sequence. So typically, babies go from not being able to hold up their head to holding up their head to then crawling, then walking, different things like that. Also, it's really important to encourage these development sequences in order because a lot of times some kids will try to go from sitting up to all of a sudden trying to walk, and it's really good to encourage them to crawl to develop those motor skills, so then that way it develops those muscles in a proper way to then be able to walk properly. So encouraging that is always really important. It also includes gross motor skills and fine motor skills. Those gross motor skills are going to include larger muscles in our bodies. And so it's going to include like skipping, sitting up, walking, different things like that, riding a bike. Those are going to all include our larger muscles and allow children to develop properly as they grow. The fine motor skills will be those smaller muscles. So, when babies are learning to pinch food to pick it up and put it in their mouth, that is a fine motor skill. American Sign Language is a fine motor skill. Coloring, putting a puzzle together are all fine motor skills that are really important for children to develop, and is why we continue to do, arts and crafts in daycares and preschools. Sometimes it can feel a little redundant asking children to practice cutting with scissors or practice coloring, but it's a really good thing to continue to practice and develop those smaller muscles. Social development includes learning to relate to others. So kids will go through different stages, and wanting to relate to others. Sharing is one step that they start to do where they want to actually share, whether they share their food or they share their toys or something. And it typically starts when they start to trust adults. So any trusting adult that is around them, a parent, a caregiver, and our subs in our daycares, they might, latch onto you. They might, really trust you, and they start to share and they want to share. Other things can include parallel play. Parallel play would just mean like someone is playing with a car and they sit down and they want to play cars as well. That doesn't mean that they want to interact with you all the time, but they see that someone is playing cars and then they also want to play cars. And that will slowly move into group activities like playing tag, hide and go seek. Group games are also another way to kind of grow to that group activity. Next would be growth and communication skills. A child is going to want to start to talk to others. They might start by talking to their trusted adult in their close circle and then move to talking to other friends. They might just ask them their name or just babble to them, as two babies might sit next to each other. And encouraging the children to play with others really allows that communication to grow, as they not only try to communicate with others, but also listening and having someone else communicate to them that is their same age. Also, the desire to help. You'll see a lot of toddlers especially start to want to help with dishes, want to help clean up messes, want to put on their own shoes, which can always be a little bit frustrating and take 10 times longer. But it is super important for them to do those things because they have that desire, and it starts to, enhance those motor skills that we talked about, and also social skills that they see something, they want to help, and then they're allowed to help. So emotional development. This can include learning to be aware of themselves and others. Kids can start to be aware of their own emotions and start to put words to those emotions and identify them. I'm feeling angry. He took this toy and it made me feel sad. And then in turn, they can start to also understand others' emotions. Like when I hit someone, they felt sad. And that can be, with the trusted adult, or it can be in social settings when they're with other children. A lot of times in our problem solving with children, we can try to help them identify. So even if they themselves can't identify, I feel sad, I feel angry, we can help them and ask them yes, no questions like, do you feel sad? Do you feel frustrated? Or it looks like you feel frustrated. So then that way they can kind of pinpoint, okay, this is the emotion I'm feeling, and it's called frustration or happy or sad or whatever it might be. We can help them to start identifying that, and also help them identify it in others. If there's a problem, if they hit, be like, man, how do we think our friend feels when you hit them? How do you think they feel? And then you can kind of wait for them to answer, or, oh man, it looks like they felt sad when you hit them. Hitting isn't nice, or whatever it might be. Okay, cognitive development. This can include processes used in gaining knowledge. So learning to think, as kids get older, they can start to process, if then sequences. So if I put my toys away, then my room will be clean. Or if I hit someone, then I will have to talk to a teacher. If I different things like that. They also start to use problem solving skills. Children might want to really take apart toys and figure out how they work, or they really want to look at something. Why is my bike not moving? They get out and they allow themselves to look around, and they might have to move a rock. They might have to move it off of a certain kind of surface like grass. It's not moving very well, so they have to move to the sidewalk, for instance. Also, evaluating things around them. We see this a lot in toddlers and babies when they use toys that are shapes, and they are understanding that one shape fits in a certain shaped hole, or that different toys have different shapes, and that they can fit all into this bag. They just start to put things from one thing to another, and they start to learn that everything has a shape. Language development, growth in how a person understands and communicates. So this can mean, they start to talk. They also start to listen. Children will start to speak in full sentences and start responding to questions that you ask them. What can be really helpful in this is if you ask them yes and no questions. Did you have fun today? Yes, no. Do you like your shirt? Different things like that just are yes or no questions, and then they can practice responding, yeah, I did, and then they can expand if they want to, or if they can. Singing, children can go from humming or recognizing music to then starting to remember song lyrics and actually start to sing them as they remember. Writing, children go from recognizing letters to then writing letters, and also working on those motor skills of holding a pencil and how to properly write. And then responding, this can include language response, or it can just include them responding to you asking them to do something like, will you go push in that chair? They don't have to say yes or no all the time, but they are hearing, they're listening, and then they're going and responding by doing that action. Okay, so when babies are born, they have neurons. Well, everyone has neurons, but when they're born, they haven't quite developed those connections with their neurons in place. And these form as babies interact with the world around them, whether that's us, talking to them in their face, smiling at them. Every connection that they make starts to connect those neurons in their brains. And it's crucial that young children have opportunities to develop their brains through interaction and stimulation, and not just the world around them. Can anyone think of a reason why they might need social and stimulation interactions rather than just allowing the world around them to help them develop in their brain?
It teaches them social norms as to what's appropriate to say, what they should, like how they should behave, mostly in the fact that, so I went to a preschool and the F word is very predominant in the 3 and 4 and 5-year-olds.
Oh, wow.
And so that is like the biggest thing as to why social interactions, especially like wholesome ones, are very important, because otherwise they're getting the negative ones and it's not beneficial at all.
Yeah, definitely. And they start to pick up on that. And yeah, it's super important for them to continue to learn, social norms, what's appropriate, when it's appropriate, things like that. Anyone else have a comment about why it's important for young children to make these connections by social interactions and social stimulation rather than just the environment around them? I think for me, I think a big thing is that if the child were to just sit in their crib and not have, with blank walls and, no patterns or anything like that, their brains just will not develop at the same rate as if, they even just having a pattern in front of them helps them make those neuron connections. Learning facial recognition, facial features, different things like that, all just help a child to make those connections in their brain and help their brain grow, rather than just being, influenced by just their environment. So moving on, if I can. Oh, no. I think that was the end. Okay, so does anyone have any questions or any, anything that stuck out to them throughout this presentation? Yes, Anna.
Mine doesn't have to do with the presentation. I was
Okay.
just wondering, I've been doing school for like the past 5 months, so I haven't been able to like come to any of the training sessions or do any like shifts even. But now that it's summer, I can do them again. So I was wondering if like if I need to go back and watch all the recordings to like catch up, or if I should just kind of start where I'm at, and because I can come each week to these now. Do you know if like I'm able to start taking shifts now or what?
Here, let me stop the recording really quick.
Okay.
And then I will answer that.